This is the SoundLab at Home, Australia's top rock program with all the best guests from coast to coast and around the world. Here's your host, music industry veteran, director of the SoundLab Music School, and author of Why Learn Music, Melbourne's Princess of Rock, Leah Gallin.
My friend Chowie has shot thousands of local and international artists and is one of Australia's most reputable and loved music photographers. We chat about his fantastic career spent capturing epic moments in music history in this episode of the SoundLab at Home. Hi, I've got Chowie with me today. Welcome to the SoundLab at Home.
Hi Leah, how you going? It's been a long time.
It has been too long, Chowie, my dear friend. What's been happening with you?
Well, like everybody else, surviving the lockdown. You know, obviously the music scene's quieting down dramatically. So I do have a bread and butter job, shooting real estates and that kind of stuff. So yeah, been keeping really busy.
Tell us a bit about yourself and what do people know you for around town?
Well, apparently my notoriety is the regular rock photographer of the Melbourne music scene. Been doing it now since, I think loosely, since 2000 and maybe one or two.
I'd like to know, what bands have you shot? What are the main ones and what are the more famous ones that you've worked with?
If I probably give you a little bit more history on how this all started. So way back when I was graduated from PSC, Photography Studies College, back in the late 90s, showing my age. I started shooting amongst weddings and baby photos and all that kind of stuff. A lot of kind of rock club photos. Back in the day, my good friend Dean Boswell started back in the day at the Portland Hotel in Russell Street. So I was there shooting a lot of his nights, regular Saturday nights, for a long time. And being an ex-muso myself, I guess it was natural that the merging of photography and music photography was going to happen. And so I started shooting bands, really like small local bands. Gosh, there's so many of them, I can't even tell you. And they progressively moved mainly into Greyhound, the old Greyhound Hotel in St Kilda. So, you know, the original way back Duke Cartel. And then progressively I started shooting Electric Mary, probably better known for, and seeing that evolution right from the start, from Erwin Thomas days to, you know, right through to Glenn Proudfoot and everybody else in between and to what it is today. And so I think I did a last count, must have been close to 13 years of Electric Mary. And I got to give a massive shout out to Ian Ritter. He kind of paved the way, and you know, I really looked up to him as far as the band music scene photography is concerned. And you know, it wasn't anything deliberate or whatever, and I somehow just became the unofficially official photographer for Electric Mary post Ian Ritter days, and yeah, have been doing it since. Bigger band wise, over the years I have had the fortunate chance to shoot my absolute favorite, Bon Jovi. Was shooting Bon Jovi back in the old film days when I used to sneak cameras into the glass house, and crazy. I've got to dig up some of those old photos and put them out to the world, I think. Yeah, so managed to shoot Bon Jovi a few years ago. Also did Def Leppard, again, supported by Electric Mary. That was an amazing experience. Muse, Birds of Tokyo. Yeah, so I've been very fortunate.
So particularly, I mean, you were talking about Ian Ritter, obviously you followed in the shoes there, and Electric Mary, we've had Rusty on the show, which is great. So that's how about you did 13 years of that. That's a long stint.
Yeah. Absolutely amazing experience. You know, like I think to see a band evolve like that, and you know, there really isn't that many bands that you can say have that kind of longevity in Melbourne, certainly not in a local music scene, but you know, through working with Electric Mary and obviously building a name for myself, have opened up a lot of doors to shoot a lot of other bands, emerging bands. And you know, the best of all is getting paid to do some of that stuff. You said you were a musician yourself, is that right? I didn't know that about you. No. Well, here's a little Chowie Trivia. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
So I was part of a family chow band consisting of my two brothers, Jimmy, who plays keyboard, and my younger brother, Alan, plays the drums. So in 1991, unofficially, we formed the first ever Bon Jovi tribute band in Australia.
I love Bon Jovi. It's always been a secret love of mine. How long were you shooting Bon Jovi for? Like, what were the earlier tours that you did?
So the Slippery When Wet tour was 1989, if I recall correctly. And I guess, yeah, I was already into photography back then, and certainly haven't done my course until another 10 years later. But yeah, sure, I was sneaking my telephoto lens and camera body and 10 rolls of films in my jacket pocket and down my pants and everything. And yeah, so 89, I guess, first tour, I was already shooting. 91, they came back again. 93, and then
Yeah, I think it was 93 I saw them. So you're going to have to go through the archive and find some of those old photos. I want to see them.
Yeah, for sure.
So I guess that's the next question would be, how did you get into photography?
So Dad was kind of into his photography. He's always taking his camera everywhere he went. So it was kind of natural that one of the kids would pick up his camera and play with whenever. And out of the three brothers, I took probably the most interest. So eventually he just passed on the camera for me, and he never took it up again. So I used his old camera for like a long time, and then as I've got my first job, naturally I went and bought my own camera, and haven't stopped since. So like really, I'm talking probably good 30 something years of photography. Yeah.
Did you develop your own photographs and things like that early on in the days? I remember doing that at school.
When I did my diploma at PSC back in the old film days, and digital was only just emerging at the time. So every photo we had to process ourselves and print ourselves, which is amazing.
Hi, I'm Leah Gallin, the Managing Director of the SoundLab Music School here in Paran. This is our wonderful venue. We've been here for over 10 years. Now we've got the two options. We've got our fantastic teachers live back at the venue, or we've been running our lessons online via Zoom. So whether you're after online or live lessons, contact us today.
And what constitutes taking a good band photo, would you say, or live band photo?
So being an ex-muso myself, I guess it's easier for me. Again, never really thought about this much until someone pointed out that, I seem to always get that, what I call the accent shot, like the highest bend on the guitar note, the mouth at the biggest wide open on the highest notes, or the drummer when it's, on the full stretch of hitting that cymbal. And then I realized that, I've really put a lot of my experience as a muso into my photography in being able to capture the essence of the movement. And so there's always an argument, amongst photographers, it needs to be pin sharp and all that kind of stuff. Whereas I've always approached it with, I love blur, it shows the emotion and the action in the photos. And so that's one part of it. Obviously, composition is important and probably a little unorthodox as far as the classic acceptable composition of someone on stage. And sometimes I'll put someone right on the edge of the frame because for me it works. And then the second half of that, of course, is the editing. So I put on a lot of these out and people goes, oh my god, Chowie, you're sharing your secret. I'm like, no, it's there to be shared so everyone can be inspired and grow and all that kind of stuff. So one of the editing I guess go-to rules that I do is I really push the light to almost blinding, like it's almost glary to look at, and people would go, oh my, it's too bright. And I'm like, no, it's not too bright, it's actually too contrasty. So the black is really black and the white's really, really glary white. And I often get asked, why do I push? Imagine if you were just editing it so it looks natural, neutral. Well, that's not how you saw it when you were in front of stage and that light's blinding you, behind the singer or the guitarist or whatever. So what I try to do is duplicate that feel of that light in your face, and sometimes all you see is just the silhouette of the singer because that's what you see. So so that's kind of my approach to what makes a decent rock photo.
And so that's your particular signature. I know you actually have the Chowie signature on all of your stuff. That's very well known around town.
Funny, the whole story about having your watermark and logo on your photos, it took me like a long time. And if you managed to find some of my old photos from early Greyhound days, there was smiley face, but it's a tiny little 4 lines, 2 eyes, one across, and a little smiley face, and it sits really, really small on the bottom right corner of the photo. And for a long time there's that typical creative apprehension, doubts or whatever, like, oh my God, I don't want to ruin the photo and all that kind of stuff. And like, I just want to put it out there and make people know that it's my work. And when I came up with the what is now the current logo of my smiley crazy eye face, I thought, no, front and center. And progressively grew to the point where it's kind of like around that size now regularly. And people was recognizing that as almost a badge of honor. Someone have said to me once, they said, oh, we have to book Chowie to do photos. Not because they particularly liked my photo, but they thought that if they were able to put photos out with my logo on it, it may carry a little more weight. And I'm like, wow, like, I'm really humbled that you think that. But hey, like, I don't know how that came about, but yeah, so sure, they actually saw that as a little bit of a help with even their career, being new bands, to have photos done by me because it would have my logo on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Chowie is a brand, so...
Yeah, it is. Yeah, a brand. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. So I suppose I wanted to ask you as well about the Life's Too
Short, Go See a Band.
Go See a Band, that's right. And your T-shirt, you want to tell me about that? I know I sponsored an event for you or two. Yeah.
You did, yeah. So again, it's part of, being the music community is really pushing for people to support live music. Of course, we've seen the downturn in live music across different states. Sydney dwindled really quickly. Perth was almost a non-existence, and everyone talk about Melbourne being the final frontier for live music. And for a lot of years, I would hashtag all of my stuff with this thing, Life Too Short, Go See a Band. And someone suggested, why don't I print some T-shirts and sell some T-shirts and make some money. So 2000, I think it was 2014-15, I released my first T-shirt. Again, being a creative self-doubter, I went through a online platform called Teespring in America, where you submit your artwork and you create a platform for people to buy, and they will print it on order, so you don't have to carry stock, and they take a big chunk and leave you a tiny little bit. And so you have to predetermine how many T-shirts you were going to produce and sell. And I'm like, oh, who's going to buy a Chowie T-shirt? I might just do 100. Well, lo and behold, it was sold out in 2 days. And I actually didn't buy one. And one of my friends bought extra ones and he gave me one of his. That's how I ended up with my T-shirt. So I didn't get to have one otherwise. So a year later, I kind of like gained a bit of confidence, and I'm like, okay, why don't I really do this properly? Get the T-shirt together and, launch a show. And at that stage, Elephant Wheelbarrow was really big in the scene. They were, putting bands on regularly every Saturday. And Pete Naylor, who is amazing, has suggested that he would help me promote and host the show. And how the rest of the story went. SoundLab was involved. Thank you very much. Amazing sponsor. And, in the process of that, it evolved a little bit towards raising some awareness for Beyond Blue as well, because I thought it was really close to my heart. Raised a whole bunch of money. Electric Mary played, and Tequila Mockingbird, Palace of the King. It was so popular that I ended up doing a second one, a part 2, about 2 or 3 months later. Not as big, but just as amazing. So then I had a break in 2017 and did another one 2018, and was going to do another one 2020, but guess what? Yeah, let's not use the C word, but hopefully next year, 2021, we'll do it again, and yeah, we'll come back with a big bang.
Yeah, it'll be bigger and better than ever, I'm sure. No doubt. Yeah, it was such a great concept too, and I really like, obviously having a charity on board. I think we just gave you some sort of low-end Epiphones and got all the bands that were involved with the T-shirt and stuff like that to sign it and auction it off. Did we auction it?
We auctioned it, yeah.
Yeah, so
yeah, I think
great. And,
we ended up...
a low-cost thing, but everybody got involved, and it was a great at the events as well, so it's good.
fantastic.
The SoundLab ebook, Why Learn Music? A comprehensive guide to the benefits of learning music is out now. We've put decades of music learning concepts in this ebook especially for you. This is a must-read for anyone looking to grow to their full music learning potential. Visit our website to get your free ebook today.
How has social media affected what you do you think?
I guess when the emergence of Facebook page, especially when there's a need to separate your personal profile to more of a business profile, was for me like a big change in how you promote your brand. And probably around that time when I kind of got a little bit more confident about putting my logo front and center of the images and really pushing and promoting bands as well. Actually, it was probably more leveraging both ways, leveraging bands that have decent following to then follow me, and at the same time vice versa, using the platform to help promote new bands like Tequila Mockingbird. I guess there was a lot of ways I probably really bragged about them a lot as well. I don't know whether there's a quantifiable impact in how the social media and what I've done on social media have helped Tequila Mockingbird, and vice versa, because I shot them a lot of times and a lot of their fans see their stuff ends up following me. So earlier on, and of course before the mass algorithm changes, like I remember I used to be able to post Electric Mary album that I've just shot, and you can see the reaction, and overnight I could have 2,000 impressions, and you can dig right down to how many of them engaged in terms of going into your page and the rest of that stuff. And since the algorithm changed, like that certainly has a massive impact. And it does come down to your perception of what you think Facebook should do for you, and realizing that they are under no obligation to promote your business. When you get to that point where you go, it is another advertising platform, just like, a billboard on the side of the road or the newspaper or the TV, you have to pay for the exposure, and you have to be very strategic about how you utilize that platform to your advantage, So definitely, if I have to give some advice, like study, learn. There's so many things to learn that you could find on YouTube to learn how to take advantage of the algorithms and when to post stuff and what to pay and, bid for clicks and all that kind of stuff is definitely worth learning, because Facebook, just like Instagram, Snapchat, Twitch, whatever the platform it is, they all want you to advertise, and you're not going to get it without paying, and even if you pay, you still have to know how to structure it to work best for you. Otherwise, you might as well put a big billboard up and have no one drive past it.
Yeah. So how do you think Instagram, has that been still images? Do you think it works better for you, or?
Yeah, interesting, because like I follow, I don't know if you heard of Gary Vaynerchuk, big, like massive marketing social media guru, and he often talks about really looking at the particular new form of social media trend that is undervalued. So he talks about things like, when Instagram first came out, like if you weren't using that to reach your audience quick enough, fast enough, witty enough, and all that kind of stuff, you may miss that boat, because now, as we know, it's oversaturated. Like it's oversaturated with, again, the algorithms only show you stuff that you regularly see. So, if you're into hard rock, then you tend to only see a lot of hard rock feeds and all that kind of stuff, hashtags and all that relating to that. And of course, in between all of that is all the paid ad, which anyone can do. I can pay for promo for a certain period of time, certain demographics and all that kind of stuff. So Instagram helps, but again, I think it's past that saturation point. So when TikTok came out, again, you got to question, is that your thing? Like, are you a video kind of a person? If you're not, like it's going to be really difficult to try and compete in that space, especially with a still photography.
Is it a factor of the quality and the originality of the photography?
Yeah, that as well. And of course the content, because, as good as my photography is perceived to be, if the band's not interesting, doesn't really get that much attention. but nonetheless, you still have to do it. Whether you get 2 likes or 200 likes, you still need to be out there and putting stuff out there constantly, because it affects the algorithm.
So maybe just talk a little bit more about photography and why you love photography.
Band photography especially.
Well, yeah, especially, yeah.
So band photography, I've often think what I can contribute to the music community, what I take and what is out there still continue to be my legacy. And I always think, not that like hung up on getting validation by any means of the measure, but I always think is, like if I leave this world tomorrow, what's left behind is my artistic work that will be remembered. And whether it be just that guy who played one show in his whole life and he's got one of my photos that he's gonna cherish for life, and it's whatever, that I feel like I've had an impact on somebody's life, creating memories for other people. That's often something that I'm really proud to do. And if it's something capturing someone else's passion as well, because who isn't passionate about their own music creation, and if I'm part of that journey to capture it for them, that really moves me.
So I wanted to ask you, what do you think the benefits of learning a musical instrument, say like at the SoundLab Music School, for instance?
Oh, wow. Gosh, so being a muso, I've often say that learning music is like learning another language, and that language stays with you for life. And it's not a language that you can only speak to people from that particular country. It's a language that you can actually speak to anybody. And to be able to, just pick up guitar anywhere that you go to that has a guitar and be able to, share the joy of that is, that's amazing. With a band that I am familiar with, Electric Mary. So you walk into the venue and you see Rusty sing, and he's like, what's this amazing? And then you look across and you see Pete Robinson, and he's one whole showman himself. And then you look over at Alex, and Alex is a complete different animal. Yeah. And then Brett, he's doing his, amazing left hand stuff that he does. And you look behind him and Spider is like crazy. So collectively, you've got 5 people who can all be their individual shows, suddenly connects into this amazing thing. So imagine that same story. You're walking down AC/DC lane and you hear them playing already because you're running late. And you go, wow, that sounds like an 8 band, maybe 8.5. Yeah. And you walk in there and they punch you in the face, all of them individually and collectively. So suddenly that 8 become 9, 9.5, and then you walk away going, when are they playing again?
Yeah.
So that's how I kind of, give that guidance in how a band should be, to visualize themselves good enough to be a show on their own, let alone collectively with, the entire band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
That's a very good story too. You had me right up there at 9.5. I was like,
Thank you.
awesome. I want to go and see a band 9.5. I won't be late.
Right.
I'll be right up the front.
Yeah.
Especially if it's Electric Mary. Can't wait to see them.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Chowie. Look, I'd like to thank you very much for your time and being on SoundLab at Home with me today.
Thank you so much. I'm so humbled to be asked to be on here, and hope to see you in person really, really soon.
Absolute pleasure. Take care. All the best.
All right. Bye.
The SoundLab sincerely appreciates your support in watching our content. Please be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more of the SoundLab at Home.